Welcome back to the Garage of Madness. I'm your host, the idiot who thought he could do this all by himself. So here we are. We have now got to the next stage. We've got the electrical, a couple little things I want to add here or there, but otherwise done. We've got water to the building, though I have not turned it on because it's winter and I don't want it to freeze until I've got insulation and everything in. Today, we're going to be building the wall that will separate this room from the rest of the garage. You may notice behind me this big giant sink. I was originally going to hide this from you all until the reveal at the end, but that's not going to happen. It's too big. It takes up the whole freaking room. What I did do on my own yesterday, with just idiocy and determination, was get it up onto these two platforms, because this is about 270 pounds of stainless steel. It is 3 feet this way and 20 feet this way. The room's 22 feet, or just over 22 feet. So this takes almost the entire length of the room, and will take 1/3 of the width of the room. It's a big sink. Hopefully we can do a lot of big stuff in it. But I needed to get it up onto a mobile platform so I can move it away from the wall so we can drywall later and insulate. But I needed it. I also wanted it as high as it's going to end up being because it's so heavy that once I build the cabinet or table for it to go on, we can just push it straight on there. So anyway, it's here, out of the way for now. But what we're going to do is build a wall. So I have been spending this morning getting everything in this garage because it's chock full of old furniture and darkroom stuff, pushing that away so I've got somewhere to work. And work we are going to do. First thing I need to do is provide somewhere to nail, because this wall is going to be going parallel to the floor joist, not across them. I don't have anywhere to nail the top plate of the wall to. So we're going to fix that first by putting in some blocks between these two joists. Next step will be marking the bottom and top plate. I've got one of those fancy little laser levels so that we can mark across and plumb and all that. Okay. All right, that's enough of me rambling. Let's turn this camera around and turn up the saw, get the ladder out, and make a mess. All right, blocking is up. Now the next thing that I need to do is measure from the bottom corner out to this stud and the equivalent over on that side. Make sure I've got the exact same distance so that my wall is parallel to the back wall there. And we're gonna run a chalk line. I've got, as I said, one of those fancy lasers. I'll put that on that line, and that should mark up at top to give me plumb, and I'll chalk line that as well. And then we'll have our line to put our bottom and top plates on. Normally you would build a wall flat on the ground and then you tilt it up. Since this is not a load-bearing wall, I'm not worried about doing that. I'm going to put it in stud by stud since I'm doing this by myself. And there's no way I can build a 9 foot plus wall in here and then lift that up. There's just not enough room in this space to build it flat. Not with that sink in the way. I will say the challenge that I have is these studs right here are studs for a 9 foot wall, a standard 9 foot wall size. And that measures, and get my tape measure. All right, so that measures 104 5/8 of an inch. And those of you outside the US that use metric, I know that's probably melting your brain that we do that, but we do. So 104 5/8 inches. So the studs that I bought are already pre-cut to that. I considered getting a bunch of 10 foot 2x4s and making the studs cut to length each one. However, the quality of 2x4s versus studs is significant in terms of warping, twisting, knots, all that sort of thing. So I went ahead and got that. And the reason why I was going to do it a little bit different is because down at the bottom, you can see it down here, that's on a concrete cinder block. And so that raises everything up. Now, I did go ahead and check. That is exactly 2 2x4s tall. So I'm going to be putting a triple bottom plate. Normally you would just do a single 2x4 and go from there, but I have to do 2 additional 2x4s to make up for the height difference. And the bottom plate will go on top of that. So that's fun. The very first one is going to be anchored with bolts down into the concrete, and then the others will go on top. So that's the plan. All right, double top plate is in. Triple bottom plate is in. I've got my stud fill-ins for the ends. So it is now time to do the actual studs for the wall. So they're going to be 24 inch on center. That means 2.5 inch or 22.5 inch in between. And here we are. We've got a framed wall. I'm not done. I am done for today. This is pretty early on a Sunday morning. I want to be done. I want to take a day off from doing any more because it's only about 8:30 in the morning. And I just want to finish up where this door frame was. I got everything up to the door frame yesterday. Got the door framed today. You may have noticed I used just a 2x4 header. It's not a load-bearing wall. There's no reason to. It's not code or anything to have a big fat header on a non-load-bearing wall. But we are framed 24 inches on center, so we'll have our insulation match the rest of the room, and we're good to go there. So what I'm going to do tomorrow is I'll get the last of my wiring finished up with the outlets that I want to run in here, and we'll get some OSB sheeting to put on the outside of the wall to enclose this room fully. All right, we've got walls. We've got a wall. So this is now beginning to starting to look like a real room, a separate room from the garage. There's still a little bit of nitpicking I need to do. I've got the last of my outlets that I'll need to run for the dry side and larger counter cabinet area, film, mini fridge, stuff like that. But overall, this is done. It's going to be a week or two before my insulation arrives, so I'll get those little bits taken care of while I'm waiting for that. And we'll make another video for insulation, maybe insulation and drywall. It depends on how that goes. But otherwise, this is pretty good. I've got a 9-foot by 22-foot space, about 22 and a half feet long. So quite a bit of space, big giant sink. I have a little sink at the end, the original darkroom sink at the end, and larger cabinets. This is going to be a good space. This is going to be a big production quality darkroom, and I'm very, very excited about it. So this is starting to feel real. This is also starting to feel tangible. Getting the water done is a lot of work, is a lot of digging. It's 2 months of heavy work. But when I'm done, all I've got is a little stubby pipe out of there. Electrical, I've got lights, but not the finished lights. So again, something done, but not super tangible. Now we have a wall. We have a wall that separates everything, and it feels like progress is happening. I'm very excited. And let's see where this goes. We'll see you next time.